The Big Ten is getting 4 teams in the college football playoffs this year. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com and get started. So how many Big Ten teams are getting into the playoffs? I'm going to tell you it's 4. Matt Rhule says it's 4. I agree with him. People disagree with that, though. Plus, Northwestern, will they repeat their 8-win season from last year? Well, their Tuesday tweets, always some good stuff. You can tell the season's right around the corner. Speaking of that season, college football, it expands its playoff from 4 teams to 12 teams. And some think that the Big Ten will eat up 4 of those spots. I'm one of them, by the way. Nebraska coach Matt Rhule said the Big Ten should get 4 teams in every year, and took some heat for it. He said that with the additions of Southern Cal, and UCLA, and of course, Oregon and Washington, which, by the way, that becomes official on Friday. Look at all these 4 teams coming in. And the fact that the Big Ten plays 9 conference games, unlike some other big conferences that we won't mention here. Don't want to get into that right now, but the Big Ten deserves 4 teams in the playoffs. Rhule says that the Big Ten is the NFL of college football, at least in his mind. And he coached in the NFL. He joked to his athletic director that he told him in yesteryear that, hey, we're going to schedule UCLA and Southern Cal all in one year as your non-conference games. He would have thrown a fit, but now that's standard operation with the Big Ten schedule. It is that difficult up and down from beginning to end. He also reiterated something that said that we say here quite often on Locked On Big Ten, and that is a lot of Big Ten teams will be much improved this year. And in many cases like Nebraska and Wisconsin and even Southern Cal, for example, their schedules are so brutal and so difficult that because of the addition of the 4 teams, they might not get higher win totals. And people go, well, they didn't improve this year. Well, they might have improved, but they might not get as many wins because the schedule's that much tougher this year. In the end, the playoff spots come down to math, right? You know the formula. The 5 highest ranked conference champions will earn a spot in the playoffs along with the next 7 highest ranked teams. First of all, that needs to be tweaked already, in my opinion, with the demise of the Pac-12 since college football's Power 5, or now the Power 4. And the top 4 teams, by the way, will get a bye. And so the Big Ten champion will get one of those spots. And regarding the next 7 highest ranked teams, I'm sure that the loser of the Big Ten championship game will get a spot as well. So there's 2 spots. Ditto for the SEC. Champion and runner-up, 2 more spots. 4 spots gone. All right. The Big 12 champion will get a spot, and the ACC champion will get a spot, and possibly the ACC runner-up as well. So that's 3 more, 7 spots gone. Throw in a group of 5 champion like Liberty, for example. Now 8 spots are gone. Throw in Notre Dame most years. 9 spots gone. So let's go to the 3rd place teams in the Big Ten and the SEC. Now you got 11 of the 12 spots filled. You got 1 spot left. Who's getting it? Who's getting it? The argument comes down to who has the better 4th place team. The Big Ten, assuming Ohio State and Oregon are the top 2. Then you got Michigan, Penn State, and USC, maybe Nebraska fighting for spots 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the standings. Or the SEC, let's suggest maybe Texas and Georgia are the top 2 in a championship, and then Alabama and Ole Miss and LSU are duking it out for spots 3, 4, and 5. Who's the best 4th place team in those conferences? Who's getting that last spot? That's what it's going to come down to. And maybe at this point, if you got such a strong argument for the 4th place Big Ten team and the 4th place SEC team, maybe you go back to the ACC and say you only get 1 team. you're champion. Your runner-up's not good enough. It's very possible. See, it all comes down to math. Which leads me to another point about why I'm against expansion of the playoffs to this extent. The new format was supposed to allow more teams access to the postseason. Teams like group of 5 teams, lesser teams, if you will, get them more access to the playoffs. Under this format, they get one team. Meanwhile, our beloved super conferences take up 2/3 of all the playoff teams. I mean, look, I'm all for Big Ten teams getting in. I really am, as many as possible. I want us to dominate. But we're always going to argue about who gets in and who doesn't get in. I mean, the old archaic BCS days where we had just 2 teams that played for a championship, we always argued about the 3rd team that got left out. When we went to 4 teams, we always complained about teams 5 and 6, right? Florida State and Georgia, you hear me? Now we'll argue about teams 13 and 14 and argue about a second group of 5 team that got left out. It's coming. Just write it. You know it is. I don't even have to tell you this. And don't get me started about the regular season being diminished with 12 teams in the playoffs. The Ohio State-Michigan game, that last year's game, that would have been diminished. I mean, both teams' seasons pivoted on that game. Michigan won it. That was a close game. They got that interception at the end. They were able to get into the Big Ten championship, into the playoffs, and win a national championship. Meanwhile, a pretty good Ohio State team, their season virtually ended there. They went into a bowl game that nobody cared about, and that was it. You go with 12 teams this year, it doesn't matter who wins that game. Both teams are going to the playoffs. It really diminishes the regular season. Absolute win or lose, the Ohio State-Michigan game. Both teams are going to the playoffs almost every single year. Take it outside the Big Ten Conference. The most pivotal game of the college football season last year, without doubt, without discussion, was Alabama's win over Texas. Because that game essentially kept Georgia and Florida State out of the playoffs. But with this year's rules, everybody would have got in. No big deal. No big deal. Or how about that fantastic finish in the Iron Bowl? It looked like Alabama's season was done. It was over. They're going to lose that game. And then Milroe with the miracle throw in the back of the end zone. Touchdown. Alabama's season continues. Guess what? If 12 teams are getting in, Alabama doesn't care if they win that game or not. They're still going to the playoffs. These regular season great moments in college football where every week is precious, unlike any other sport, goes out the window. It's all about December and January now. You know I'm right. So, by the way, that's another. Wait till we start getting teams playing each other 3 times a year. That's going to happen, right? Like Ohio State's going to go to Oregon and play in October. They very well may play in the Big Ten championship game. And if they're both in the Big Ten championship, win or lose, they're probably both going to the playoffs and may face each other again 3 times. What is this, a baseball playoff series, or is this college football that's precious from one game to the next? It's going to happen. It's going to happen in all the major conferences. Well, the 2 major conferences, SEC and Big Ten. So anyway, it's too much. Nothing we can do about it. It's going to happen. It's here. It's probably going to expand even more. Talking 14 teams, 16 teams. It's going to happen. But the Big Ten is going to fill up a lot of those spots. All right. They're not going to go to group of 5 teams or lesser teams. Big Ten is going to get its place. They're going to get 4 teams in this college football playoffs. Anyway, take your thoughts on that as well. Would love to hear from you on this as well. And Matt Rhule's comments and how we're going to get 4 every single year. Should be pretty close. I can make an argument for 5. I really can. Hey, if you like what you see here and you're a Big Ten fan, or you know somebody who's a Big Ten fan, all of you, subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Audio versions come out at 4 a.m. Eastern. Video on YouTube comes out at 6 a.m. Eastern every day. We're here for you, talking all the teams in the Big Ten. By the way, don't forget to pick up some of your Northwestern gear for this season. Why are we talking about Northwestern? We're going to talk about the Northwestern season coming up. So you might as well get your gear, your hats, your shirts, your pennants, all that stuff at our website, Talk Big Ten. That's the number 10.com. See the scroll on the bottom of the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, that's Talk Big Ten, number 10.com. It's where we put all of our podcasts, by the way, chronologically, and we group them by school. Like, we'll file this one under Northwestern. You're a Northwestern fan. You can see everything we've ever done on that school. Do it for everybody. It's all right there. TalkBig10.com. So, speaking of Northwestern, they won 8 games last year after winning 1 game. They're going to be able to repeat that? Have you seen their schedule? We're going to take a look at that. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Big Ten. We all love sports, and you can love them even more with FanDuel. If you're interested in a game, that's one thing. If you got a little something on it, it's even more exciting. FanDuel can get you there, especially with baseball going on here in the summertime. Just check it out. Prop bets and run totals, win, loss, all this stuff. All summer long, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com, FanDuel.com, and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. I got some action for you here tonight. So a lot of matchups I find very intriguing, but what I would do here, if you don't like the juice or the payout, bundle a couple up, parlay them together, increase your winnings. All right, so here's the deal. I like the O's over the Blue Jays, right? Parlay that with the Rays over the Marlins. I also like the under in the Brewers-Braves game, and I like the Royals over the White Sox. Parlay all, put a 4-teamer together right there. You can do it all at FanDuel.com. Head over to FanDuel.com. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Well, thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen every day, especially everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day, wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget our website, TalkBig10.com. David Braun was one of the most underrated stories in college football last year. He came in as a new defensive coordinator in the offseason at Northwestern. He had never been a head coach before. And as soon as he unpacked his bags and got his young family settled, a huge scandal erupted, right? A hazing scandal at Northwestern. And longtime alumnus Pat Fitzgerald was fired as the head football coach. By the way, he's still under a lawsuit for wrongful termination there. But the season was fast approaching. School officials didn't have time to vet everyone on the staff who allegedly knew or didn't know what was going on with the hazing. So they got the new guy. Clean slate, right? David Braun, your head coach. Go. That's what happened. That's literally what happened. So he was thrust in there as the interim head coach. And then boom, right away, like days later, Big Ten Media Days, practice starting, season starting. I mean, he didn't have time to take a breath and get his head above water. And yet, while taking over a team that only won 1 game the year before, the unthinkable happened. They won 8 games, including a bowl game. How'd that happen? And then Braun was not only named the permanent head coach of Northwestern, he was also named the Big Ten Coach of the Year. Awesome story. Awesome. I don't think he gets enough run. So this year's team, they got a new set of circumstances to deal with. First, they don't have a stadium. All right. They knocked down Ryan Field. They're rebuilding it. It's going to be great. State of the art. It's going to take a couple years. They won't play in until 2026. So instead, they're going to play on campus, which is nice. It's quaint. Right there on beautiful Lake Michigan. They've taken the lacrosse and the soccer field, and they've put 15,000 aluminum bleachers around. Boom. That's your football stadium. Big Ten football. It's small. It's quaint. It's right there on Lake Michigan on campus. So it's going to be kind of a cool vibe. There's not going to be a lot of people there. I think some people are pretty excited about it, and it's just a unique challenge that they will have there. The biggest question about the Wildcats this year is at quarterback. Now, the presumed starter, Brendan Sullivan, just surprisingly transferred out after spring football, said, I'm going to Iowa. So he's gone. Appeared he was going to be the front runner for QB1. So now they got another transfer, Mike Wright. See how he does. Big question mark at quarterback. So they may have to rely on the running game a lot more. And good thing is they've got a great running back in Cam Porter. He's a team captain. Coach Braun said that Porter has had a great offseason. He said Porter is one of the most positive people he's ever been around. He's one of those guys that's always building other people up. Great guy. You also look for some help from versatile wide receiver A.J. Henning. He can contribute on offense and special teams. In fact, he used to return punts for Michigan before transferring over a couple of years ago over to Northwestern. And on the defense, the Wildcats have linebacker Xander Mueller. That's a player that Braun actually tried to recruit over at North Dakota State. And coach thinks he's one of the best linebackers in the entire country. Braun also says that despite last year's success, this year's team has done nothing, got to start from scratch. And it kind of feels that way. I mean, and moving on to the stadium, new quarterback, some new players, new season. Everything's new. And the schedule, tough. This is a tough schedule. You got Michigan, Ohio State back-to-back for one. That's going to be fun. That's later on. So let's take a look at this schedule. Let's see how many wins we could find on the Northwestern schedule for 2024. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think they're going to get close to the 8 that they got last year. But let's see how many we can find here. All right. So they open up Saturday, August 31st at home against Miami of Ohio. It's a 3:30 game on the Big Ten Network. It's a winnable game. If it's at home, they can win that one. They could lose it. They got a lot of 50-50 games, more so than most. When I do this and I go through, I like to point out a couple of, sure wins, probable losses, and then a couple of 50-50 games on the schedule. Northwestern's got a lot of those 50-50 games. So they got a big range between how many games they can win or lose. But let's give them the win against Miami of Ohio. And then they got Duke. Now, Duke was pretty good the past couple of years, Coach Elko and whatnot. This is at Northwestern. I think by the way, check this out. This is at Northwestern, 9:00 Eastern, FS1 on the shores of Lake Michigan. Pretty cool vibe. Northwestern can win this game. Again, this is another 50-50 game. Duke can win it too. But let's say Northwestern starts out 2-0, and then they got Eastern Illinois in week 3, 7:30 on the Big Ten Network. 3-0. Great start. All right. Then it gets real. Then they got to go to Washington. That's at Washington. That's going to be a tough one. Then they come home and take on Indiana. That'll be a 50-50 game. Indiana's going to be a little bit improved this year. Northwestern's still feeling their way, but let's just say they win this game. All right. So that's 4 wins. That's 4-1. It's at Northwestern. At Maryland, that's an 8:00 game on Friday night, October 11th. 8:00 on Fox, national TV. It's probably going to be a loss, maybe. Then they got a game against Wisconsin. I think when we looked at Wisconsin's schedule, we gave this one to Wisconsin. That's October 19th, although there's a home game for Northwestern. But they probably lose there. They probably lose at Iowa. 3:30 game on October 26th. They can win at Purdue. They can win that game on November 2nd. So that's 5 wins. All right. We're approaching bowl eligibility here. But the problem is next week, November 16th. And by the way, they got a bye in between the Purdue game and Ohio State. So we got an extra week to get ready for Ohio State. It's a home game. They're not going to play that on their 15,000 little bleacher stadium on campus. It's too big of a game, too many people. It's going to be the homecoming game. They're moving that one to Wrigley Field. So it's going to be Wrigley Field. Ohio State's probably going to win that game. And then after that, they hit the road. They go to the big house, take on Michigan. So Ohio State and Michigan back-to-back weeks. I think we're stuck at 5 wins. And then they close it out Saturday, November 30th against Illinois. I think when we previewed Illinois earlier this week, I think we gave that one to Illinois, although it's a 50-50 game. You win that, you got 6 wins, but that's where I see Northwestern 5, maybe 6 wins this year. So they're not going to get the 7 regular season and 8 wins with a bowl game that they got last year. I think it'll be a step backwards. Just too many questions at quarterback to start the year. A lot going on. I think it'll be a fun, interesting season. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to be really interested to see what's like playing on campus there, right there on the shores of Lake Michigan. But that's how I see the Northwestern season. You can agree or disagree with me there. Many ways for you to hit up with comments on Twitter or X at Talk Big Ten, and our comments on YouTube as well. By the way, do you watch a lot of daytime TV? You know, the talking heads, sports, ESPN, FS1. I don't care for it much. People just talk louder than each other, and whoever's the loudest wins, apparently. I don't like it. Got an alternative for you called Locked On Sports Today. It's from our friends at Locked On. It is a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, which we're big fans of, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, if you are an everydayer, on Tuesdays, we like to pull your tweets from our Twitter account at Talk Big 10, number 10, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. We got all that coming up next right here on Locked On Big 10. Ibotta. We've talked about Ibotta before, our good friends over there. Look, you buy a lot of stuff, right? Summertime, sunscreen, snacks for kids, trips, whole bunch of money being just spent out all over the place. Well, don't stress about it because you can use Ibotta and get cash back on all of your purchase when you stock up on your summer essentials there. Vacation plans, daily needs, everything. Ibotta is a free app, and it lets you earn cash back every time you shop. You can earn hundreds on items like groceries and beauty supplies, toys, and you can make sure that you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Did you know that the average Ibotta user earns $256 a year? That'll pay for a lot of this stuff that you want to get. You can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers with Ibotta. So right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners here at Locked On $5 just for trying Ibotta and using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use the code LOCKEDONCollege. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store and use the code LOCKEDONCollege. Also want to tell you about Factor Meals. This is great because I hate when at the end of the day you're like, oh, what do I make for dinner? What do we know? Everything in the refrigerator. I'm tired of the same old fast food. Factor Meals. Factor Meals. They got options that are calorie smart, protein plus, keto, everything. Never frozen meals. Dietitian approved, ready to eat in just 2 minutes. That's all the time it takes. Make today the day that you kickstart your new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? Just do it. With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you always have new flavors to explore. Treat yourself to restaurant quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, blackened salmon, some high quality stuff here. Keep your kitchen time to a minimum. So Factor Meals, you go to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50, the number 50. All right. And use the code LockedOnCollege50 and get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Again, that is with Factor Meals. All right, it is time for Tuesday Tweets. We always like to put those on the board here. If you're audio only, I will describe them to you as best as I can. We pulled a few from Twitter here this week. Don't forget to follow us at Twitter or X at Talk Big 10. And we'll start it off with Barstool, Iowa. They've got a picture of Megan Gustafson, and she's with Team Spain in the Olympics. Got a win over China. 29 points, 8 rebounds, 4 steals, and shot 67% from the field. This is very, very Caitlin Clark-ish, these numbers. Crazy, right? Speaking of her, I think she's on here later. Here's one from at Boiler Football. It is the sun rising over the football stadium. Says fall camp, we are ready. This is the new Tiller Tunnel. It's a little video, a little 45-second hype video. And you can check that out if you're a Boilermaker fan, ready for the upcoming season. Here is from at Wolverine Chronicle. All right, 2 minutes remaining, down by 6. You need to score. Which legendary Michigan quarterback wide receiver duo are you going to take? You got to pick one. It's got 6 squares. McCarthy and Walker is one. You got Robinson and Terrell, another one. Harbaugh and Manningham. I might take that. Although Greasy and Howard is pretty good. Henny and Carter is pretty good. Oh, we're going old school with Leach and Edwards. Those are all pretty good. I'll let you decide, Michigan fan. Let me know what you think. Take a little poll. Speaking of Michigan, here's that Swanky Wolverine, a picture of Donovan Edwards. Says, I could be a 25 carry guy. Do I want it? It doesn't matter. Whatever is best for the team is what I want. He might get 25 carries again. He just might. He's going to be a workhorse this year. Here's from @GoJD Blue, the best rivalry in sports. This is the picture of the little fight. It's a video. It's about a 15-second video of in the hallway, the bowels of Ann Arbor, where Michigan and Ohio State players are crossing and getting into a little kerfuffle, the little skirmish, if you will. Speaking of Ohio State, this is @Ohio State football. Got a montage of Buckeyes with a black background. 5 Saturdays. 5 more Saturdays. This is 5 Saturdays away. Start of the college football season. This is from the Red Ranger 3. It says elite universities, schools with the most Paris 2024 Olympians. Southern Cal with 58. Welcome to the Big Ten, by the way. Stanford 54, another Big Ten school. Michigan has 42 athletes, Cal with 41, and Florida 39. So a couple of Big Ten teams cracking that top 5. Very good. Go USA. I told you Caitlin Clark would be on here. Here is @Stat Mamba. Caitlin Clark already has more. This blew me away. This is Caitlin Clark in a WNBA jersey for the All-Star weekend. Caitlin Clark already has more career assists than over 75% of all players in WNBA history. She's played a half a season. Has more career assists than 3/4 of the history of the league in 30 years. That's wow. That is a wow. Absolutely. Here is Dylan Raiola signing some autographed jerseys for some young fans out at Memorial Stadium. This is @Husker Football, making memories. #GBR, go Big Red. Going to be a big season for the Huskers. Mark my words. Penn State football recruiting. Penn State, this is a picture of their Penn State mascot at the gates at Beaver Stadium before the team comes out. Penn State just picked up a massive commitment in a 2026 wide receiver. Josh Lear Rogers, elite speed, going to blow up over the next 2 seasons. That is the next commit. It's going to knock your socks off, they say. #we are. They need receivers at Ohio State. They need them faster than 2026. But nevertheless, good news for Penn State. There you have it. There are our tweets on Tuesday Tweets. If you see something you like, retweet it or tweet something special just to us at X @TalkBig10 Don't forget the comments on YouTube. And don't forget our website, talkbig1010.com. Always love to hear from you there. You can email me there if you want. In the meantime, tell your friends about us. We're here every single day covering all 18 teams in the Big Ten. If you got a family member who's an alum or a friend or who's just a fan of the Big Ten, let them know that we're out here every day, word of mouth. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe. We are making a push to 10,000 subscriptions. We took over this channel last summer with 1,200. We're going to get 10,000 before the start of this season. Subscribe. It's free. Doesn't cost anything. And you can follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app and to get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Invite you to watch another episode of Locked On Big Ten. Get caught up with what we did yesterday. Then also check out our friends from Locked On, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, Locked On Sports Today, here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, subscribe there as well. First ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. We are quickly approaching the beginning of the college football season, the Big Ten season. We can't wait. We are all over it. Thank you for your time today. We never take it for granted. Always appreciate it. But we can't wait till we talk again tomorrow. Till then, I'll talk to you then right here on Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. See you next time.